All right, so wherever we're at right now, I'm Jono. May King, welcome again, my wonderful, wonderful co-host with the most from last week. And we had a lot of fun last week talking with Chris Hyken, and we talked a lot about manufacturing and entrepreneurship and process and things like that. So today, we've got the beautiful Miki with us. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good. I got my cup of tea. I'm ready to go.
Yes. So it's dark here. It's dark there. It's always dark in England, you know. So it's 7 o'clock in the morning here on the east coast of the US. We're going to see how we go with this. A cyclone has decided to park itself pretty much right over the top of us right now. It's what's left of a cyclone now, so we're not going to blow away. But if I suddenly disappear, it means we've lost power. So I'm in the mountains, so Facebook will keep rolling, so these guys will keep talking. So very exciting today. So this is going to be a little different in that in the past we'll take someone who's a little way down the road as a startup. They're doing the business, they've got results, they're doing things now. Miki, technically that does apply to you. Not technically, that does apply to you. But you're also a client of Sandtrax. And so what we wanted to do today was a live mentoring session. Now, this will come as no surprise. You're completely prepped for this.
So, I mean, like, what? No, this is what you're like.
I didn't know that was happening. So Miki, first things first, obviously introduce yourself, tell us a bit about where you're at, and then maybe just jump into a bit of your business as well.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi, everybody. Hi, universe. Miki. So I'm a writer. I've always been a writer, even when I was really little. I used to write really terrible poetry as a kid. I still write terrible poetry. And so my career started out in commercial radio. It's 2003. I was doing breakfast. I was doing drive, nights, weekends, not all at the same time, all of those things. And I was also a copywriter. And then over the years, I've worked in radio in Australia. I've worked in commercial radio and also the ABC here as well. I had a Saturday morning program and I used to produce for a little bit as well. So, I worked in advertising agencies and local government and comms, and I freelance. And so I've done all of this stuff, and my whole the last 20 years has been basically helping people and businesses to tell their stories, right? So I'm also a web developer. I've got design experience, and so putting together stories of people in different formats. So it's really funny. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's also great as well. In 2015, I was at a Tony Robbins event in Melbourne, Business Mastery. Have either of you been to a Tony Robbins Business Mastery event before?
No.
I heard a lot about them though. They're amazing.
Really, really interesting. And because I was like, well, I know a lot about what it is that I do. I just don't know anything about business. And I thought, right, this is a great place to start. And I had some, so I actually joined the Platt Club, which is a thing for another conversation, but my whole plan was to open a copywriting agency. But here's the thing, right? I am a really, really, really great senior copywriter. I can sell anything on paper. I hate it. With passion. I'm really, really, really good at a job that I hate. And
wow.
Yeah, hate it. So good, so freaking good. But anyway, so there were people there and like, why are you starting a business doing something that you hate? And I was like, because I'm an idiot. I don't know, because it seems like the to do, right? So and they're like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I really want to help people write books. And so there was a businessman there, and he's like, right, I want you to ghostwrite my autobiography for me. And I was like, okay. And so for the next 2 years, we ended up writing this book together. And it was just about to be published. And I'm not kidding you, the bottom fell out of his world. And we ended up not being able to publish this book that we'd spent 2 years on. Oh. And I was devastated, as you are. But also we realized through this whole process how much I loved writing this story for him. And I was like, yeah, this is what I need to be doing, right? So I realized that a lot of people couldn't afford these big ghostwriting rates. And so I started helping elderly people to write their memoirs just for their families. So I made so many mistakes, like a ton of mistakes, because I live in Mackay. There are no other publishing companies around here. I couldn't go to a publishing company and go,
Right.
you just learn what you're doing. Like I had to learn on the fly. Everything that I was doing. I couldn't just pop into Allen and Unwin and go, hey guys, teach me all you know. So many mistakes. And I was charging like $1,200 for a memoir, which is nothing. And I was killing myself, negative dollars, all sorts of things. Got some freelancers to help me. That was a bad idea. I'm not going to talk about that, but trust where you go, people. Find the right people. But I really loved what I was doing. But it was this big struggle because I was finally doing this thing that I loved doing, but I call it the struggle between my heart and my stomach. Like, I do this, but how am I going to feed my kids? So, you know, as a single parent, I was a single parent for a long time. And anyway, so I'm gonna just keep going. Anyway, bunch of stuff happened, life happened, blah, 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 blah. We'll skip forward. So last year, okay, working, and we'll get to this is where you guys come in and all of this stuff has happened in the last 12 months, right? Yeah. So, last year I was working part-time for an amazing agency. I've got my little publishing biz, and everything's ticking along, but it was kind of like ho-hum. And Startup Mackay, so Linda and Mark, obviously from Soundtrack, they were part of Startup Mackay when they were here many years ago. And Deb Allen, who was actually jumped in with the Soundtrack stuff, is the facilitator there. And she said to me, I think you need to come along and be part of our startup program. And I was like, girlfriend, no, I'm not a startup. I'm a business. Like, no. Like, no, thank you. Have a nice day. Hard pass. Anyway, she was like, no, seriously, you need to do this.
They kind of give you that look and go, no, you need.
I was like, fine. Why, fine. Anyway, so I joined up, right? This is kind of the beginning of this year. And it actually forced me to really think about my business structure, the process, the way I did everything. And then not long after I did that, I started in with Soundtracks with you guys, right? Yeah. And it was this beautifully congruent kind of thing between what we were doing with our mentoring sessions and what we were doing with Startup Mackay. And so all of this really cool stuff started to happen. And, you know, I was trying to be everything to everyone, and I was offering like 50 different publishing services, and then COVID hit and all of the stuff with you guys. And I was like, I need to just focus on the stuff that I really love and want to be doing. So I got rid of everything. I cut it down to 6 services, and did that. And it was almost like a 360 pivot back to my original idea, because I'd started off in memoirs, tried to be this big publishing company, and then in the end came way back to just doing memoirs again. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I want to pull you up on, Miki.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much for your honesty.
Yeah,
I was laughing with you, not at you. You just got a wonderful way of sharing your story, and thank you so much for that. So one of the first things I want to pull you up on is you mentioned about your poetry, and you very kindly shared with me one of your poetry pieces that you delivered, and it was just amazing. So don't knock your poetry. It is absolutely amazing. So that's the first thing I want to pull you up on. Secondly, I think that your honesty is just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Most people who start a business are probably, and I, you know, Jono and myself as well, we probably were there where someone come to us and say, I can help you, and you turn around and said, no, I don't think so.
Never.
I know all this already.
Come on.
Thank you so much for your honesty there, because I've been there, but you know, for you to share that is just so wonderful. And then thirdly, of course, you know, mentoring is important, but we get mentoring from all walks of life. So as you say, with the Mackay startup, you've got a bit of guidance there with the structure, but with Soundtracks, you've got the, you know, other side of mentoring as well, which is great. So, you know, I think as business owners, you know, being in business can often feel like the loneliest place on the planet.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be, as long as you make sure that you surround yourself with certain people that can help you along the way, cheer from the sidelines of pom-poms with you, seek mentoring on certain things, outsource other things, and that kind of thing.
And kick your butt when you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the final thing, before I hand it over to Jono, the final thing I wanted to share, to talk about is, I absolutely love your honesty right at the start, where you know that you're so good at copywriting, but you don't like it. You had that opportunity. Yeah. You had the opportunity to ghostwrite for all that chat, which is incredible. And being in business is like that. You go on a high, you enjoy it, you know, and then suddenly things come crashing down. And the true hallmark of a great entrepreneur is to cry, feel a little bit sorry for yourself. We've got to go through that process, but then dust ourselves off and then start again.
That's the real mark, because I mean, the bad stuff happens, whether we like it or not. And often we go through iterations and reiterations. So we've just had something hit the house. Iterations and reiterations of the business. And even just in that, we can feel like, well, I thought it was this, and now it's this. And that can feel like there's a whole cleaving process that goes in that. There's, you know, the mourning of what was, and there's also the enjoyment of what's coming, you know, but it's that, Mickey's one thing that I would reiterate there from May King was your honesty. I mean, that's my very first impression of you when we were sitting in some of these co-working sessions. You know, I only met you earlier this year, and in some of the co-working sessions back when we first started them, and I'm like, man, this girl's brutally honest.
You know, I think that would be my years of working in breakfast radio.
I was going to say that's probably the journo in you, but but it's refreshing. Well, you know, I would even say these days that's rare in a journalist, right? It's but you know, look, it's one of those things. And so, I mean, obviously, just adding to what May King said, you know, that ability to really honestly examine. You know, for example, I've been through business failure myself, right? And it would be really easy just to blame my business partner. I wasn't there, But, you know, she could have managed it better. But at the end of the day, I wasn't there. And so, you know, I've been very successful at analyzing that, figuring out what I did wrong, you know, and there are all the, you know, all of a sudden you have all those well-meaning people around you, right? For those listening to the podcast, I just did air quotes and around well-meaning. And no, but they are well-meaning people, like, oh, you'll never do that again, or you shouldn't do this, or, you know, you'll never do your own business, or you'll never go into a partnership, or, you know, and actually in Australia, we're really good at that sort of thing as well. But so all of that is so important. So you did actually preempt us with some challenges that you're facing. And look, obviously, you know, we're regularly connecting and having you on group calls. I know you've been in quite a few with Linda as well. And so a couple of things, and I really want to come back to it was actually the third one that you sent, right? And that is productizing your, that's right. I've got them here. So you don't have to remember them. So productizing our services. All right. So I thought I'd go the lazy route and start with the marketing stuff first. Because that's the stuff I know, and I know that you're very familiar with. So explain your challenge there.
Yeah. So, and you and I have talked about this previously, but I'm happy to talk about it again in this format for everybody. So, you know, as a copywriter, my most of my career has been writing to businesses. So, you know, B2B sort of stuff as a copywriter. Back in the olden days, there was some working for, like, writing things for customers, but really B2B. And so my brain still thinks B2B when it comes to copywriting and all that sort of stuff. And my biggest challenge has been that I'm not selling to businesses. I'm selling to ordinary people. And what's really interesting is when you're marketing to a business, you can say, this is my product. It's worth 10 grand. Here you go. have fun with this. And they go, yeah, cool, no worries. We can write that off. They'll pay it. When you're talking to a mum and dad, when you're talking to an everyday person off the street and you say, this is my product, it's worth 10 grand, a whole lot of different processes go in their head. And I was not prepared. I was totally, just stupidly blindsided in that. So that's been really difficult for me to get back into that marketing mindset of talking to an ordinary person. And I think that's where my marketing has actually failed, is that my experience has actually done an injustice to what I actually need to be doing.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm hearing less about productization and more about the value you're placing on the service you're offering. And not just, but we did have this conversation before, so this is cheating a little bit, but it's the the value you place on it. We actually had a conversation as part of our mentoring moments about a month or two back, where we talked about how do we place value. So like, what are pricing structures and all that sort of thing. So I'm hearing less of the actual product and more about, does somebody get it? And do they think they can afford it? Which can then spin into do I actually value myself that way?
Well, going back into the productizing thing, if you like coming back in that circle there, my main issue is that a lot of people have said do a course, and I don't want to, it feels off brand from what I want to do, which is one-on-one. And so I'm finding it difficult to productize something where I don't want to do a course where you teach a million people how to write their own book. There are enough people out there who can do that for me. And so, because at the moment my business is service and time heavy. So it's time heavy, labor intensive, right? Right. Which is great. And that's what I love. And I'm okay with that. But we also need something to have that kind of productizing of things to make ease up a little bit of cash flow on the side there. So I'm like, help me. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So what's your resistance to training programs?
I probably have a little bit of PTSD there. So back.
Training programs. Wow.
Oh my God. So I'll get down and real. Okay. So back in 2015, when I was doing all the Tony Robbins stuff, I'd been separated for about a year and a half, and I was trying to get out there and take over the world. And I ended up spending around, are you ready? Around $70,000 on online courses as a consumer.
Okay.
Yep. And I was doing it, the one stage, I think I was doing about 17 different courses at once. I was trying to learn everything and do everything. And I actually ended up with depression. Was what they like, an information overload. And so, and so even though I'm now on the other side of that, and I've helped some clients to build courses for themselves, I'm really aware of how difficult it can be. Like I can't do a course unless it's perfect, unless it actually helps people. I don't want to just do a course and throw it out there and make a ton of money and not actually help anybody. Because I've been on the other side of that and I know what happens. So unless I have like the most, not perfect, but the right course, it's actually going to give huge amounts of value to somebody who are actually going to make it and write their book, I don't want to do it.
So just to reanalyze that for a second, and not to turn this into a coaching session, but that's where I go. So to reanalyze that for a second, so go back to the $70,000 that you spent on training programs. Were those training programs that bad?
Some of them were really good, but I couldn't tell you which ones.
Could you say that none of them had value to nobody?
No, they would have had
too many negatives.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just after 7 o'clock here.
Let me take another
this is the thing that we in the English language can do the best, is double negative.
And I don't want to knock anybody, because I know that there are programs at work, and there are programs at work.
No, stop. I'm not asking you not to knock someone. Okay. This is not a reflection on their course. In fact, where we're going with this is that what I was saying is were none of those courses good for nobody, right? So are there people that actually would get stuff out of those courses, even the ones that you didn't at all?
Yeah, there probably would be. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the missing link?
I think because I wasn't one of those people, that I don't know what that thing is that it was that got them in.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So but what you've done is you've kind of stopped and analyzed it and gone, that's just bad, right? And so therefore I don't want to put anyone else through that. So do you think those course creators are sitting there going, Miki, man, she didn't connect. I feel really bad. I should really shut this program down. Do you think?
No. Well, I don't know. Maybe. No, they don't. And I get that too. And yeah, I think there is that mindset thing of going, you can't be everything to everyone, and you can't make everybody happy, but you can make some people happy. And
correct.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the challenge is, I mean, you've done that. All of that was off of the back of you talked about going through a separation and divorce and becoming a single mom and all those sorts of things. So there's a whole other lot of whoop ass that's going on in the background, right? That no one should have to go through, and and so there's that sense of significance in that, you know, who am I as a woman? Who am I as Miki? Who am I as a mum? Who am I as a businesswoman? And you probably pulled that. I mean, obviously the Anthony Robbins thing, it could have actually fed it could potentially have fed some of the I'm not good enough, right? Because it was just at that time. And yeah, I get it. You know, you probably actually, you spent 65,000 on Anthony Robbins and 5,000 on everything else. But
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
pretty much right. That's what I would have thought. And so, sorry, I should have put it like that. But it's that. And so then you've kind of said, well, I don't want to be that to other people, because, you know, you're a great person. You love people and love helping people, and that's why you're in the business. And that's why all of us go into the businesses we go into.
Yeah.
Our capacity to help people and to do more with our own stuff is huge. But then there's this over-analyzing everything. So how do you shift that to be able to at least then analyze, right? So the goal here isn't, okay, you're going to walk away and go, oh yeah, I can do courses now, I feel great about it, because there's still that belief that, you know, somewhere deep down, if the course is bad for someone, it's bad for me now, right? And so how do you shift that analysis away from that?
Well, I need to do things. So I think probably the only way that I could get over that is to actually write a course and put it out there. And that's probably the only way that I would get out. It's like bungee jumping. You can't.
Never done that.
No, I've never done that either.
Yeah, I've done skydiving.
Well, that's cool. That's super cool. But yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's that I've seen, you know, you've seen the bungee jumping videos and you're like, no, that looks scary. And I stood on the top and looked down and thought, no, I can't do it. And I probably just need to actually just write a course and put it out there. And
so what sort of course would it be?
Yeah. I think my whole business is based around helping people to write their stories just for their families. And I think, you know, I'm not one of those publishing companies that is there to help people write the best-selling business book to go on the New York Times.
You've got a very, very niche market. And I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm really here to help mums and dads and people and grandparents to write the stories for their grandchildren. And so what you're writing is really genuine and honest, and deep, but also it's detail as well. It's not just in 1927 on a Tuesday I did this, you know, it's right. Like what room you in, what were you feeling, what were the color of the walls, what were the people that you were talking to, you know, all of these different emotions and stuff. And maybe, you know, I did think about this of trying to link in with a psychologist to try and help people to remember untapped memories, something like that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
because I have a terrible memory, as probably one so honest, because I'm like, oh, it happened, so I remember it.
Do you?
And yeah, well, I there's bits and pieces of
What if your memory's perfect and it's just the way you process stuff?
yeah, well, I think my partner would disagree with that. Just remind me all the time. So I read it.
At the risk of getting in a lot of trouble from your partner, she's wrong.
Oh, so much trouble. So much trouble. Anyway,
Yeah.
but it's about because we think that we won't remember. We do think that we won't remember, because I talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh, what have I got to talk about? Nothing happened in my life, and then when they start to talk and they start to open up, they realize that actually so many things happen. Writing a memoir is actually really cathartic, unbelievably cathartic. And it's confronting and it's beautiful and it's all of these emotions that roll into one. And so I think it could be helping people and getting somebody who's an expert, because I love experts. I'm all up for experts.
So give me the first 5 modules of a training program. Just the headlines. And of course, you're going to change all these, but give me the first 5 modules.
Oh, now you're putting me right on the spot.
Yep.
Just like that guy who wanted you to ghost, right? He put you on the spot, right?
He did.
You did it.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, okay. The first module is called, and I'm going to steal this from Marie Forleo because I actually freaking love her. It's called "Get It Out of Your Head." Just write it down. Perfect. So I've done this in the past too with writing projects, which is just to, and in fact, no. In fact, we're not even going to write anything down. Okay. The first module,
look at this. She's getting it. She's getting it.
I love it.
It just took me a moment and now I'm in. All right. The first module is letting go that this idea that you have to write everything down and it has to be perfect. So what I do is that we record our memoirs. Okay. So I use Rev on my phone. You can use whatever. I just want you to turn your phone on and talk for 20 minutes. Just talk to yourself. Talk about all sorts of crap. Don't worry about what you're saying. Talk. Turn it off, have a break, talk again. And have this ready wherever you are, whether, safely in the car, but, if you're going jogging or something like that, just talk your thoughts out. I'm really good early in the morning and late at night when my filter is at absolute 0.
Yep.
And just getting those thoughts out on paper. Then
so module 1 is just start talking. Start having a conversation. I think module 0 is it's all in your head. Right? Because the big fear, and this is, I'll even help you write that piece. But the big fear, but there's way more qualified people than me, trust me. But the big fear is, it's that amygdala reaction, right? I need to stay safe here because if I put it out there, it'll be dumb, it'll be stupid. Even if I'm recording it and no one else is hearing it, right? And so I think module 0 is just getting people to, like, I love, and if you've read Simon Sinek's work, Start With Why, right? Great concept. Really, you could have written that in a paragraph, but the whole beginning of the book talks about the way the brain processes, how brain chemicals work. It's just a whole setup.
Yeah. The other thing that's really good is to, if you're not quite sure how to describe something, because people do that, is to think back to what you had for breakfast that morning and just describe everything. Like, describe every moment that you did. Describe that bit from your waking up moment.
Right. So the module says, here's some conversation starters. Here's some things you could just start talking about. That sounds silly. Just start talking about it, because that's exactly right. Because you've got to get people over that freeze hump. So, so module 0 is it's all in your head. Module 1 is, wow, it's getting pretty serious here. We've had things hit in the house, and it's, I was just hoping, we've only got about 25 minutes to go. So I'm hoping
God, okay.
Yeah.
We can do it.
We're good. We're good.
Okay. All right, and I'll speed up as I talk about it. Yeah.
No, you're fine. I might just switch over to my phone so I don't lose the internet.
It's either that or some sort of paranormal thing happens. What it looks like.
No, it's that this storm's gotten way bigger than I thought it would. So way bigger.
The ghost of history is saying.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's good. We're safe. Oh, we're perfectly safe. It's just yeah, it just got really big. All right. Did I
Okay.
lose?
Yeah. Can I interrupt?
Sorry, we'll have to just. Sorry, we'll just have to edit that chunk out. That'll be easy to find. You guys are frozen. Is that me? Or?
Oh no.
No, we're back.
Nothing.
We're back.
Okay.
Yeah, I switched over to my phone, so we just locked up there for a second. So if the internet goes out and it just goes dark here, I should stay online because I got battery on the computer, I got battery on the phone. We are good. So
Got this happening. One of the best things about talking to people when their memoirs, they give you all sorts of tricks, like you got to hold a brick when there's a thunderstorm so you don't get electrocuted. You know, like I love that goal. That's what happens when you talk to grandparents. They tell you all sorts of weird stuff.
Yeah. Well, and so down the track, there's an interesting kind of your own memoir of the memoir of writing memoirs, right? The coolest stories I ever heard. You know, you got guys like Tim Ferriss who've just made a whole book out of the people that he's had on his show. He made a book about them, basically told their stories and has made millions out of it. You know? And but anyway, so we're going through these 5 modules, right? So 0 is it's in your head. 1 is start talking. What's module 2? What's the next module?
I don't know if this is module. Well, start talking. I think module 2 would be how to describe things. So that is then you could go into that doing that breakfast thing. So I want you to write a whole chapter about what you made, what you had for breakfast.
Yeah.
And how that made you feel. And if it was nothing, you know, and if breakfast isn't quite right for you, then maybe it was your car trip on the way to work.
Topic. Yeah.
That's just something really boring and mundane. And get that out there, and you know, you'll find that you'll have all this stuff.
Awesome. What's module 3?
I think module 3. Well, module 3 could be looking at old photographs. Photographs are a really good way to help you to remember what it is that you've got. So, you know, go through old photographs, talk about who's in the photo, but also if you can remember where you were on that day, what happened before that photograph, why was that photograph taken, who took that photograph, what happened after you took the photograph. It's all of this, because I always say picture tells 1,000 words, but it's only just a small part of the story.
Yep.
So, you know, find that photo of your wedding day or something like that and tell the story that you can't see.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Module 4.
All right. You want to here's one. Here's a great one. I freaking love this one. Okay. Find the most goddamn controversial story about your family and go and talk to somebody who disagrees with you. Find their story and write both of them.
That's real journalism right there. I love it. Love it.
Because I have this, I talk about the concept of truth, because just because something happened doesn't mean it's true. And just because it's true doesn't mean it happened. All right. And your truth is my truth, and it's all a lie.
So let's just pause there for a second and look back. You've just you just off the cuff in about 10 minutes with my lights flickering in the background and everything, you know, you've just created 5 modules of a course, a book.
All right, fine.
So,
sorry, May King, go.
I was just going to say, just to finish off what Jono said, from what you said right at the start, Miki, I mean, you have clearly displayed, and Jono talked about this in our last chats with Chris about people having lots of, is it entrepreneurial tendencies or traits? Is that, I think that was the term that you said.
Entrepreneurial is entrepreneurs who are inside of something else, like a business.
So Miki, you've got a lot inside you, a lot of fire in your belly, a lot of entrepreneurial traits.
Yeah.
You've explored some of them went well, some of you didn't. So there's there is no right path or wrong path. There is a path, and you can decide where you want to go. And I remember you mentioned at the start that, you know, you didn't want to write online courses, but as Jono explained, there may be a reason behind that. So you could go down that path of writing, you know, online courses to help families to write their memoirs.
Oh,
But then there's also another path.
I think it would be amazing.
But then also in addition to that, you could write memoirs for people, because that's what you really love and enjoy, right?
Right.
You could write memoirs for people who don't have the time, or they would rather have someone as extremely experienced as yourself and eloquent in your words, you know, to be able to produce that. So you've already created potentially 2 revenue streams there. And you've not just done them in the space of 5 minutes, but it's up to you to decide, you know, obviously where you want to go, whether, you know, and you could have them alongside each other. You know, I have several revenue streams. I'm sure Jono has as well. But one thing that you did mention is about doing something that you enjoy. And, you know, and it took me a while to figure out what I really enjoy doing and staying on that path, even though people say, no, don't do that, you know. But I kind of like that, you know. So I loved Jono's mentoring session or coaching session with you then to explore and unpack why you had such a bold statement of, I don't want to write online courses because there's so many out there. But as Jono, you know, has clearly demonstrated, there will be people who are drawn to you and not drawn to the thousands of others who have written a course. So just because there are lots of other people who have written a course does not mean that you shouldn't write a course. Okay. Yeah. But it's just a case of whether you want to or what, you know. But
well, you just got to build your module 0 and then train yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
But you definitely have a course within you, and you drew that out in about 10 minutes, which is amazing.
Yeah. So thanks. That's a beautiful summation right there. because it's, you know, you talked about, do I go national or international? All that stuff's irrelevant if Miki isn't thinking through this clearly and pitching it in the right way. I totally agree with May King. You could have 3, 4, 5 revenue streams, and if they all tap into each other, right? So just think about it. You could, you know, you got a premium client. It's like, oh, go to my course and step yourself through it to be able to get some of this stuff down. That's taking some of that time off you, even though they're still paying you the premium price to write the book just for them. But you know, then the courses can happen in different ways too. You know, a little bit like Sandtrax, where you have a community of people who want to tell stories better, right? And then, you know, that's where you're just giving them tidbits and, you know, the stuff that you do well, right? Just connecting, being friendly, just being helpful. But then it's that next step of, okay, so how do we take this to the next level? I think everybody wants to tell their story better. I know that's the case in business, but it's a human nature thing. And what you're helping people do is unlock that.
And to just finish off the marketing to nationally and internationally as well, you know, don't spend too much time. I wouldn't be, and I'm saying this to myself just as much as I'm saying it to you. Don't spend too much time thinking, oh, what should I do? What shan't I do? Because if you go in that, you know, that procrastination route, then nothing will get done, you know. So, but you are a great storyteller. We know that. You've done it. So what you need to do is to tell your story, and that is your marketing. Okay. So on social media, for me, that's what I do. I tell my story. I tell people what I do. I educate people on how I create FOMO for people. I walk through the steps. I show behind the scenes of what it is I'm doing. So you do exactly the same. So you can educate people about how you go through the process of writing a memoir for someone, or go through the process of assisting a family to write a memoir for someone. And again, I'm saying this to myself just as much as I'm saying it to you. Sometimes we know so much in our head that we think, oh, that's easy. That's so so
it's
obvious.
one of my biggest challenges too. Yeah,
we think it's so obvious, but it's not obvious. It's obvious to you, Miki, but it's not obvious to people who are not in the space of writing memoirs, you know. So FOMO creating, for me, you know, it's obvious to me, but it's not. So educate people, even if you think it sounds simple. It's not, because we're not in your head. So breaking that down and writing your story on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, whatever your platform is, educate people, educate the process of what you do, break every tiny little thing down. And that is your marketing right there. And that will help you to reach beyond your national and your international borders. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think geographically that's kind of irrelevant right now. It's actually you create this thing. These people are all over the world. They're all over the place. Yeah, at some stage your marketing's going to have to target and geo target. You know, you would know more about that, May King, than I would, particularly from a social media point of view. That's probably going to be your best channel. But those opportunities to tell stories, to connect. So yeah, I think it's actually it's coming back to this. Okay, so for me, the actions I'd love to hear from you are like, you know, what would your next steps be? What are the things that you would be able to do in the next couple of weeks to move yourself forward in that space?
Yeah.
And
I think I can definitely start writing some modules. If that's, you know, I think you're right. Like I do. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will do the thing, because actually when we're talking about it, it sounded really cool. And it was cool. And maybe just getting that stuff out and starting to do videos and things like that. And you know, I live in country Mackay, so there's a bit of that tall poppy thing happening where it's like, don't talk about too much. Got to get that out of my head. And yeah, I think you're right. I think it is that I was, and this is what I love about this, right? And this is why I will talk to lots of people about, you know, Sandtrax and startup and stuff, because you have these ideas and then you get the right people to go, I love it, it's not quite right for what you need now. So I think you're right. Like I was so focused on trying to find these, you know, national and international clients, but it's like, you're right. Put that over there. So, right. Sorry, this is my brain just processing everything.
No, this is what we're here for. This is a normal mentoring session.
Great. Give me a moment.
We're all about de-scrambling.
It's like a universe in there. Dots, and I've just got to put them all back into a different drawing now. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it is, you know, creating those first couple of courses, even like just a mini course I could do, just a little mini, like you know, I really love the idea of workshops. I was going to do a stack of workshops before COVID, but obviously that threw everything around. So maybe it is coming back to that idea and realizing the reasons why I want to help people and you know, do what they do. And I just don't want to, I'm worried about losing that one-on-one brand, but I think you're right with the course. You could add these elements in there that would bring that.
Well, but I don't think you are losing it. That's and you kind of. My concern is that you're actually, there's a subconscious reaction going on here, right? That you actually telling yourself. Funny enough, you're telling yourself a really cool story here, right? And and that story is that if I go down this training thing, I'm going to lose the one-to-one, right? The training piece, gets more people to feel, so the more people to feel like they're having a one-to-one with you, which actually achieves more of your goals.
Yes.
But it also creates then a premium group of clients that you virtually spend $0 on because they're already hanging out with you. This is the Anthony Robbins model, right? You go to his kind of big thing with tens of thousands of people at it. But at some point in time, there are some people paying him $30,000 a month just to go and stay in his resort in Fiji and be with him and 10 other people. Right. And so now I know that's kind of an extreme, but there's people who will pay in those groups that'll just go, you know what, I want you to come in and do that. And it may even, you're going to come in and actually clean up what they've already got rather than write it all from scratch. Okay. So there's kind of some tiered services. There's that, okay, we're just going to clean up. So we're not doing the blank page syndrome stuff, you know, which I'm a copywriter as well. So I really get a lot of this stuff. And difference is I love copywriting. I don't like writing long books, but I do love copy. And so yeah, there's different tiers as well. And I think, you know, what you've got to watch is, you know, the in your head bit is if I do this, I'm kind of compromising that personal relationship. And the story shift is I'm actually enhancing and creating more opportunities to have those one-to-one relationships, which I really love.
And one thing I want to add as well, Miki, is that people don't know who you are yet on social media. So you need to showcase your authority. And the best way, one of the ways in which you can showcase your authority and that you know what you're talking about is if you're training people. So people on social media, they lurk. We all do. We all have a bit of a nosy, don't we? We all have a bit of a nosy on who's doing what and so on. And your prospective clients, your high ticketed people who want to hire you one-to-one are watching you as well. But you need to prove to them that you are an expert in your field, that you are an authority, that you're likable, that you're really good at that stuff. So you talking about what you do and you developing these programs and delivering these workshops is actually the gateway to get those one-to-one clients. So you're not pushing them away. You're actually, like Jono said, you're enhancing, you're paving the way, you're actually rolling the red carpet for them, but they still need to see, is Miki the right person for me? Because as you say, there's lots of other people out there. So don't see it as a stopgap, you know, see it as you're opening your red carpet for them.
Right. And just in addition to that, being okay with the ones that you're not okay, that are they're like, you know what, she's not for me. Too high energy. Exactly. She's too friendly, you know. But I kid you not, there are people like that. I mean, they're just. I know. it's unfathomable. These people need a life, but they're out there.
Okay, so every now and again, I'll just throw in a bitch, please, and then we'll be fine. Okay,
yeah. I'm not even going there, but I mean, it's odd. I'm just the token male on the podcast today, you know.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. But yeah, look, I think there's some really beautiful stuff in there, and it's funny. We didn't even get to the other two, but I kind of no, but that's why I went there, because I thought the third one is actually the problem, and it's not the productization. You actually don't necessarily have a problem with that. It's the whole thought process around it that's kind of causing procrastination. Yeah, it's all in your head, but it's not all in your head. But it's, you know, but that's obviously where we all get stuck at some stage, and we procrastinate, or we loop around, or we obfuscate, or we do all these different things to avoid some element of maybe it's going to hurt me. Now the reality is maybe it will. But so what? You've been hurt before. You recovered.
Yeah. I'm good.
And you're right, Miki, you know, because as you know, I lived in Australia for 6 years, and the tall poppy syndrome is rife. And that's why it's important for business owners to hang out with other like-minded business owners. Right. So that our friends and family who tell us go get a proper job, or that's not going to work, or you know what you're doing that for, who do you think you are, going on Facebook Live and all the rest of it, you know, you just smile and say it's okay, because they're not your customers. They are not your customers. And your mentors from Santrax, you know, the people that you like-minded business owners, they're the ones you want to hang out with to keep that tall poppy syndrome in check.
And the ones that are close to you, it's like you thank them for their genuine concern and care for you, right? Yeah, obviously, because that's respectful, and that's they're operating out of those same. Yeah, in some ways flawed mindsets, but sometimes out of love and connectivity as well, particularly family. If I took all my family's advice, I wouldn't be doing anything I'm doing today. I'd possibly be an accountant. Can you imagine that? And
my family are good. Then I'll ignore them. It's fine. So
no, but I mean, they're well-meaning. They care about you. My parents care about me, and my family does. And they're good friends too, that quite frankly don't know anything about business and what you go through, and the mindset stuff. But what a beautiful place to challenge that, and what a beautiful opportunity to build something that's not going to just be a challenge for yourself, but that story is going to inspire others to challenge themselves as well. Just because you said, I reckon I can do this. It's not going to be perfect. Ugly's okay. You know, but let's just tell the story, because stories actually are ugly when we think about them. They're beautiful,
Yeah.
but they're ugly. And because that's a story. I mean, it's got to be as it is. Otherwise, we get modern journalism, right?
Don't even get me started.
No, I won't, because I'll get all political next. So,
So before we end this broadcast then, what were your takeaways from this session, Miki? And also, Jono did ask as well, what are your action points? What are you going to be doing following?
One of the things we're going to do is we're actually going to report out next week on what you actually did.
This is the sound of me just ripping my entire schedule apart for the next week, throwing it in the fire.
That's a good place for a
Can't
schedule.
do it. Got to write a program.
All right. So the important thing is action steps. All right.
Yeah.
So we have okay, we're sitting here a little bit in fear of creating a program that's going to distance me and separate me from people, blah, blah, blah. All right. And maybe take me away from what I love, which is building people's memoirs. Through to, I've now got this highly functioning business where I've got a great group of high-end clients that we're doing their memoirs for still, that are feeding out of training programs and communities that I have built so that more people can do this stuff. Right? But
yeah,
we're not saying we're going from there to there, right? So it's those first one or two action steps.
Yeah. It's really interesting because one of the things that has happened over the last couple of weeks, because I've had to put my prices up so that I can do what I do, and in doing that I've had to alienate a lot of people.
Yep.
It becomes unaffordable, and that was my whole point about doing this in the beginning, was to helping grandparents and to make it a really affordable. I can't make it affordable for them and affordable for me. It doesn't work. So I think you're right. I think that mindset of going, well, if I have an affordable program that will help them to get to the end product, which is them to have a memoir written.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not written by me, but it's been guided by me. That's still perfect, because they've still done what we need them to do, which is to get it out of their head, put it in a book, and preserve their memories for the future.
Right.
So I think that's what I need to put in my, like, that piece of mindset, that I'm helping those people who can't afford.
Okay, that's a good conversation, and you need to have that deliberate conversation with yourself. So what's an action item that's going to come out of that that's going to show us that that's worked?
Okay, so what do we have? 4 or 5 courses that we just
Well, we
did?
came up with 5 modules, but I mean that was just to put you on the spot and to think about it, right? Now you can recreate and redevelop as you like, but yeah.
All right. Well, should I do a draft of 5?
Perfect. So a paragraph on each, perhaps?
Paragraph. Get out. Paragraph? What's a paragraph? What am I?
A paragraph is, I'm dealing with a mindset and I want an action item. If you start telling me you're going to frame out a whole course between now and next week, that may or may not happen. And if you get there, awesome. But I want you to hit something that you can walk away, because the important thing here isn't, am I able to do this in a week? All right.
Yeah.
You might or you might not. But if you don't, you're going to go back into your space of, because this is always about overreaching.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is it's a bit of a pattern. And so what I'm trying to say is, this is why I'm saying, what's that one action? If you basically said, here's 10 modules and a paragraph on each.
Okay.
But no, you tell me what works for you, right? I'm just saying, but so you could say, I did that. Okay. So I set a goal, I achieved a goal, and I can celebrate that, right? We'll get on and we'll do some high-fiving and all that sort of stuff. And then, take your partner out for dinner or something, to celebrate, or your kids or whatever, but celebrate, because there is one of the things that happens in here, and entrepreneurs get stuck in this all the time, is this whole concept of, when we get after stuff, we've got to set in. You talked about depression. There's a bit of perfectionism going on in there as well. That's being bred out of this. Perfectionism is just purely a lack of standards. That's all it is. All right. Because the standard of perfection is always more. right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what happens is I get after stuff, and as I get close to what I think is the goal, I just move the goalpost further.
Yeah.
Because if I achieve it, it's kind of almost a letdown. But the
Yeah.
problem is our brains are wired in a way that if we don't achieve stuff, our brain releases the chemical that says that was violently taken away from you. All right. The exact same chemical, which is why we end up in anxiety, fear, and depression, because we don't set goals, we don't achieve them, and we don't celebrate them. All right. So sorry to go off on that tangent, but I think that's really important for a lot of our entrepreneurs. And I think it's extremely important for you in the sense that I want you just to set something that's simple that we can say, bam, we did it. We're now a week further down the road than we were, rather than, yeah, we got all this stuff done in a week, but in 4 weeks' time, we're actually in a worse place.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Simple steps forward. Kaizen approach. 1%.
I do that. I take giant leaps. I forget a little. It is.
And by the way, I do too.
Yeah.
So I'm preaching to myself.
I will take the 5 things. I will write 5 paragraphs, and I will be comfortable and content and happy with just doing that.
Okay. When are you going to do it by?
What day is it today? Thursday?
I've got no idea. Yeah, Thursday.
I don't even know.
It's only just started for me.
Oh my God. It's October. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Okay. This time next week.
Okay. So we may even instigate our Friday morning co-working session. We'll see. I'll have a chat with Mark. Mark and Linda will be back on deck. So you will present those.
All right, fine. I'm in.
I love this whole head thing, you know. You totally fit in. In the South over here.
So much cooler than I am. I'm really, really. My kids think I am not cool at all. I'm like, I'm so cool. They're like, no, Mum.
No, but the beautiful thing is, your kids are wrong, right? and I mean, the beauty of being a parent is we're there to embarrass them, right?
Oh. Yeah, I dance in the aisles in the supermarket and in the car right on the way home. I'm like,
love it.
Eminem, this is my jam, baby.
You're so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh, so embarrassing. I don't care.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I hope that's been valuable.
It has, yeah.
And look, as we said, you know, just for everyone else that's watching this or will watch this in the future, this is the kind of conversations we get into. You know, and when we're working through things with clients, it really is about how we just help get some clarity to get those next steps. As we saw today, and it's not uncommon that a lot of it is, I mean, I'm an executive coach. I see this in almost everyone I deal with. There's mindset stuff in all of us. There's mindset stuff, you know, May King last week, we talked about the imposter syndrome, right? And so there's mindset stuff in all of us that stops us getting there, but it's not just the mindset stuff. It's okay. So if I deal with the mindset, but I still got to take action. And so I think that's been a beautiful dichotomy today. So Miki, I really appreciate your honesty. I'm looking forward to the actions. As I said, we'll set, I haven't blown away. This is really exciting. But it's interesting. I'm looking outside. It's fall here, right? Or autumn for you English speaking folk. And I'm looking outside, and all the trees had leaves on them yesterday, and they're all gone this morning. Wow. The sun's it's just gotten daylight, so we're now straight in the winter overnight. but yeah, so I'm looking forward to those next action steps. Any parting words, May King?
No, Miki, I'm just echoing Jono's thoughts, really. Thank you so much for your honesty. Thank you for your entertainment. It was been great.
For your entertainment.
Entertainment with your honest stories. You know, I think they are inspirational, actually. You know, inspirational to myself, inspirational to other, you know, entrepreneurs, people who are thinking of starting a business. You know, this stuff is hard. And to see the breakthroughs as well has been incredible. So thank you so much for your time, Miki.
Thank you. And can I just say, you know, I love every minute of this and everything that we've been doing over the last 6 months. And every time I come off a call, I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing and I feel better. And even if it was, you know, that was like you're doing something wrong or you're not, it was like, that's okay. Everything is going to be okay. And I'm on the right path, always. And just validating and solidifying ideas and throwing new ideas in and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I absolutely love this. And, I just talk to people, talk to people, talk to the right people. Absolutely. Making, you and I talked about this. You've got to talk to the right people. I think you guys are it. And my last parting words are, if I do a course, I'll give both of you 2% off the course.
Oh,
you're welcome.
Amazing.
2% discount. All right. That's my parting gift for you.
That's beautiful. You never know, you might have an investor. Yeah, look, that's fantastic. Look, I'm so excited. And look, it's funny. This is why I love the visual side of it too. Obviously, some people will listen to this as a podcast, but on the visual side, I can see your energy is lifted. Now, the problem is you've now got to calm yourself down and get ready for bed. But sorry. But yeah, I can see that your energy is lifted. I can see there's a weight that's come off you. And that, for me, the visual, the body language side of coaching is so important, and mentoring is so important too. So very exciting. May King, thanks for being a great co-host again. You are amazing. Miki from Savvy Scripts, it's been awesome. Woo! And we look forward to having you on, even if we just do a mentoring moment or something next Friday, and we're going to see what the results are. We're going to hear all about the framework the first 5 paragraphs of this course. And just achieve that. If you would get to more, great, but achieve that. And that's the celebration. So thank you guys. It's been fun. We got through it without shutting down.
We did.
And we'll be back again next week. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.